Hey folks, welcome to the first Roll of Law and Runkle of the Bailey crossover video. What I want to talk about today is Wizards of the Coast sending Pinkertons to the home of a Magic the Gathering YouTuber. Basically, if you don't know Magic the Gathering, it's a collectible card game. You buy little packages of cards, you get random cards in it, and they release it in sets. And these sets, once they come out, the secrecy of these sets is kind of important to Wizards of the Coast because they rely on people being excited. They rely on that hype. People buying packages of cards, not just because they want to play them, but also to see what the new cards are, to get that rush of excitement. I used to play. I get that one. So this guy does YouTube videos, and one of the things he does on these videos sometimes is he opens packs of cards live on screen, and people watch that. I mean, it's just lots of different content out there. So the issue on this one is that he ordered some cards, he got some cards through a friend, and somewhere along the distribution chain, somebody screwed up. The set he was trying to buy is called March of the Machine. However, there's another set that's not due to be released until May, and that is March of the Machine, The Aftermath. Now you can see how you might get confused. If you have these two things in your warehouse, it would be really easy to accidentally put one in the wrong place. Now, of course, normally when they've got, distribution of products that are intended to be kept secret until a particular day, copies of a new and highly anticipated book, that kind of thing, normally they take very special precautions, but somebody screwed up. And so this guy got a hold of some cards that weren't supposed to be released, and then to the probable horror of Wizards of the Coast, he's opening them live on YouTube channels. I'm not sure if it was live or if it was pre-recorded, but he's opening them and putting these videos out. And of course, people are super excited, and this is killing the hype. So Wizards of the Coast is very upset by that, and they had lots of options for what to do, and they picked a very stupid one. What they decided to do is they hired the Pinkertons, which literally the Pinkertons, they're still around. They're and the Pinkertons are kind of famous for their involvement in a whole lot of sort of violent activity. That hasn't been the case for a number of years, but they've still got a reputation and they still play on the same name. So they do security, they do loss prevention, they do detective work, they do all sorts of things. And they went to this guy's house, and they were apparently quite scary. This guy indicates that his wife was afraid, he was worried, and as a result of this visit, they left with all of these cards that were taken. They said that if he didn't do that, that he was looking at jail time. I don't see how that happens, but we'll talk about that. And so they took these cards, they left with them, and they told the guy to take the video down. So what does he do? Well, being a YouTuber, of course, he goes online and tells the story, which is a real problem for Wizards of the Coast because now this has turned into a PR disaster. So let's talk a little bit about the laws. Did this guy do anything wrong? Well, there's no indication of that. There might be, if he was involved somehow in a situation where he knew that these were obtained by some sort of crime, then he would be at fault. But there's nothing to say that. Or if he somehow intentionally induced them to breach, some sort of contract to keep these secret, then he would be at fault. But if he just gets sent these things out of the blue, Wizards has a problem because he seems to be just a bona fide innocent purchaser. Now, even if Wizards was in the right here, and I don't think that they are, they have a PR problem. One of the differences between sort of an okay lawyer and a good lawyer is knowing when to take alternative strategies. Because if we look at this in the context of defamation law, most people have heard of the Streisand effect, where Streisand sued over some comments she didn't like, and as a result, those comments get blasted everywhere. There's plenty of situations where you can be in the right and yet still lose. If you sue somebody who is sort of a small unknown person who's saying defamatory things about you, one of the results of the lawsuit is going to be everyone hears about it. In this case, one of the results of them going and taking all of this stuff from this guy is now everyone hears about it. So if we assume, for the sake of argument, that Wizards was 100% in the right to take this stuff, and again, I don't think that's the case, it still would have been a mistake. So what would I do if I'm Wizards of the Coast's lawyer and I hear that this is going on? Well, the first thing I want to do is get somebody on the phone to ask, what kind of alternative strategies am I allowed to do, and what is my budget for this? Because I would have looked at all sorts of things, and I would have tried to resolve this not by sending goons to the door, but instead with a phone call and a, hey, we know that you got this stuff. We know that you're not the problem. We know that you got this innocently. We'd really like for you to stop making these videos, to take this down, and for us to get this property back. And we know that you are a guy who loves the game and really would like to help us out. And we'd like to just say thank you for helping us, helping us figure out what went wrong and stop this from being a thing. We need to find out if there's more of these that have been, leaked out to other places. We really need to track this down. So we need your help. And for this help, we'll reach into our vault. And I mean, Wizards of the Coast has some back product. They could have picked out like a box of Arabian Nights. And for the people who don't know, with Magic the Gathering, a lot of these sets, after they're released, they go out of print, and some of them are incredibly valuable. People yesterday were telling me that the going rate for a sealed box of Arabian Nights is somewhere like $70,000, which for Wizards of the Coast to solve this problem is probably not a huge amount of money, especially because this is just pulling something out of storage. But let's say they don't have anything like that in the vault. They don't want to buy one of these things on the open market. There's all sorts of other things they could have done. They could have said, hey, listen, every box that you got, for each box that you got, we'll give you 4 boxes afterwards. For every box that you got, we'll give you a complete set, all of the sort of rare cards for like this and maybe the past 2 sets, or even the next 2 sets. Just say, hey, we'll make you good. They could have said, you know what, we're going to make you a card in the next edition. Like the next set that comes out, we'll get an artist to draw your likeness. It's going to be on a rare card. You're going to be sort of a really awesome card. And, that makes him a sort of a face in the community. It gets him like this fame. All of this are ways that they could have approached this that would have almost certainly had this YouTuber going, yes, please, I would love to do that. And so instead of taking this very hostile approach to this innocent member of the community who, doesn't need to have armed goons at their door, instead you get to take this approach and say, listen, we are this guy's friend. We're, whatever. And you might say, well, we don't want to encourage these kind of leaks. Well, the thing is he, again, probably didn't do anything wrong. And the source of the leak is where you want to go after. You want to go after the place that, like, whichever place in the distribution chain got that wrong and sent out the wrong product. You can still go after them. Like, you can still sue them for, breach of whatever agreements and all of that. And the community's not nearly going to be as upset about you doing that. The community just isn't really going to care about a warehouse or a distributor in the same way. This was a real opportunity for bridge building, and instead they chose violence. And quite frankly, I think it was the wrong move entirely. Heck, even if you don't send the goons, they probably could have accomplished the exact same thing just by going up to these guys and saying, like, calling this guy and saying, hey, we screwed up. We'll be happy to replace the product. We just need it back. Like, even if you don't want to give him anything else, did you try just asking nicely without sort of the heavy hitters, without the muscle? You probably didn't need the muscle. So right now, the community, like the people who play Magic the Gathering, and not just them, but also people who play Dungeons and Dragons and various other Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro products are up in arms, are furious. And it was completely avoidable. No need for it. So that's kind of that. Just legal strategy. Maybe it's not a good idea to go after your community. And if you're watching Roll of Law and you've been following my discussions of the Orc license versus the OGL and versus the Elf license that I'm planning on putting out there, this is also one of the reasons why I am in favor of a more hands-off license. Because you might trust Paizo, you might trust Chaosium, you might trust any other group right now that is going to start releasing things under the Orc license. But we once upon a time trusted Wizards of the Coast, and now they're sending Pinkertons to people's doors. You have to assume that whoever is the top level of, whatever product might one day be the kind of person to send Pinkertons to your door and decide, is this contract, is this agreement something I'd want to make content for under the terms if that was the case? And if not, then it might not be a great license. The Elf license will be designed for the purpose of ensuring that you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So stay tuned. I'm still working on it. I'm still kind of filing away at it. I've got a lot of sort of plates spinning in the air, but that'll be coming out.